So within the HUD-VASH program, we've really enforced and endorsed the housing first approach to care because we really believe that veterans need to be moved as rapidly as possible from the streets and into housing, with the recognition that permanent housing can provide structure to help veterans start to address the needs that they have. Within that, we really are looking at using evidence-based practices like critical time intervention and harm reduction and motivational interviewing to really be able to help the veteran address what their needs are so that we as clinicians can help meet the veterans' needs where they are. We're looking at HUD-VASH as a program that can provide low barrier admission and high barrier exit, meaning that we want to get the veteran as quickly as possible into the HUD-VASH program and then make it as easy as for them as possible to stay within the program and really make it so that we're not discharging veterans from HUD-VASH because of things like non-compliance with case management or not going to an appointment, but really seeing those as signs that the veteran may need additional support and assistance and address that, with the idea being that the support and services will meet the veteran where their needs are and wrap around them to help them maintain their housing and become more stable and be able to be successful in their lives.
I think what the integration of Housing First into our homeless programs has meant to me is that it really is the point that signifies that we're looking at homelessness as something that is not a symptom of something else, but something that really needs to be the primary focus of our intervention strategies. And our intervention strategies run the gamut from how we do our outreach, what we're looking for in our outreach activities with our HCHV staff, the ways that we provide case management, and how we structure the emergency housing and bridge housing programs that we have under our HCHV contracted programs.
Okay, before you say anything else.
The Grant Per Diem program has been implementing housing first principles in its services in a variety of ways. One way is to recognize that housing is a right, and one of our goals is to assist every homeless veteran in achieving permanent housing as a result of their stay in a Grant Per Diem program. Additionally, we're looking at ensuring that barriers to services are lowered, such that preconditions to services having to go to treatment prior to coming into a Grant Per Diem program are not required. We've also been exploring and encouraging programs to ensure that the services that they provide are veteran-centric and recovery-based, and ensuring that we engage veterans so they're able to be successful in achieving their housing goals.
Our goal, our mission, is to make sure that we provide permanent housing opportunities to every homeless veteran who's in need. And the way that our HCHV program supports that is making sure that how we do our outreach activities and the way we frame those activities, what we do with case management, and again, the structure of what we do with our contracted programs are all in line with that as the primary mission. That the housing programs that we do offer through the community are really focused around providing a bridge to a permanent housing in a safe and stable environment in the community.
So as the HUD-VASH program has grown, we've been able to fund additional staffing, and one of the things we've really looked at is growing multidisciplinary teams to help meet the veterans' needs and recognize that various disciplines and professionals bring different expertise to the program and to the needs of the veterans. So what we find in really successful programs, whether it's that they've developed in a served community treatment team with social work, psychology, nursing, and housing specialists and peer support specialists, or if they're doing an intensive case management model of care where they may have several social workers working together to service a larger caseload of veterans. They're sharing caseloads, and then they're brokering services within the medical center or within the community to really be able to meet the needs of the veteran and help the veteran integrate back into their community successfully. What we've seen is the importance of bringing in these other disciplines, peer support specialists, peers that may have been homeless at one time or are veterans themselves and can really relate to the veteran, housing specialists that know how to build landlord relations, nurses that can help veterans address their primary care, nurse practitioners that can help prescribe, psychiatric prescribers, psychiatrists or psychologists that can help address some of the mental health needs of the veterans that we see, substance use disorder specialists to help address addictions. But being able to provide this array of services to a veteran in the community, in their home, at the medical center, where the veteran's most comfortable, really helps us see them begin to stabilize in their homes. It's something that we see as a really integral part of the HUD-VASH program, but also a key component of the Housing First approach that we're so supportive of.